good evening. Welcome to Cardiff City TV.
Coleman, he'll shoot and he'll score! One in the area! And it's on, we did it!
A very good evening and welcome to Matchday Live, courtesy of Cardiff City TV. I'm your pre-game host, John Donovan. But before we turn our attentions to the men's senior side, where else to start but to pay a huge congratulations to Cardiff City women's team for winning the Welsh Cup on Sunday with a thrilling victory over Cardiff Met. They've been a joy to watch all season, and everybody associated with the club sends their congratulations and wanted to say just how proud we are of them. And hopefully the men's side can follow suit tonight as they travel north to the Riverside to take on playoff chasing Middlesbrough. I'll be joined by Ashley James in the second segment of this pre-game show to talk about what this means to Middlesbrough in comparison to perhaps what it means in terms of the longer term plan for Cardiff City. But despite longing looks towards the summer holidays, we still have football to play, and Cardiff City, well, they need to get a win from somewhere. Yes, they're safe, of course, from relegation, but as Steve Morrison said in his press conference yesterday, for all the Bluebirds are looking to next season, professional footballers like to win football matches, and Cardiff City aren't doing that at the moment. There have been promising moments, both as a collective and as individuals. I thought the first half against Luton was an excellent example of that. And indeed, again, at Bramall Lane on Saturday, Cardiff played some decent stuff, particularly in the first 45 minutes. In terms of individual performances, well, Dylan Phillips, who we're going to hear from later on in the show, has come back in and proved to be a worthy custodian of the gloves. Curtis Nelson returning in very strong fashion from injury. Max Waters getting game time on Saturday and probably having his best performance in a Cardiff City shirt so far. And Ollie Denham, the man who's come from Manchester United youth team and played in the under-23s for the last 12 months or so, showing what a promising footballer that he is and can be perhaps a mainstay in Cardiff City's defence next season. So whilst Cardiff don't really have anything to play for, there's a lot of interesting insights to keep our eye on tonight. I mentioned Middlesbrough. Of course, they have everything to play for. They are chasing the playoff positions. They currently sit in 9th place on 64 points. They're 5 points outside the playoffs, but this is a game in hand. Win tonight, and they're only 2 points behind Sheffield United with 2 games remaining, and the race for them really is on. So for Middlesbrough, you've got to think they will come out all guns blazing Chris Wilder's side. Of course, Chris Wilder replacing the recently retired Neil Warnock. We wish Neil Warnock all the best in his retirement. Will it last? We don't know. We wish him all the best. But Chris Wilder has come in and done an excellent job at the Riverside. They really hit a purple patch between November and January. It's become rather difficult to score goals lately, and they've dropped a few points, which means they're not in those playoff positions, but they have everything to play for. And that man in your screen right now is just one of a number of Cardiff connections. Sol Bamba, we of course wish him well on every night bar tonight, but it's great to see the big man enjoying a renaissance in his career. Lee Peltier, of course, at Middlesbrough as well, along with Sammy Amiobi, who hasn't played much this season, but plenty of Bluebird connections wearing the red of Middlesbrough tonight. Talking about players who are going to wear the shirt this evening, it's time to run you through the teams for tonight's game, starting with Cardiff City. And this is an interesting one, and it's going to cause a lot of discussion between myself and Ashley James coming up shortly. First of all, there are 2 changes from the side that started against Sheffield United at the weekend. Joel Bagan and Joe Rawls come out of the lineup. Will Vokes goes in. Ollie Denham and Cody Drammer continue to play in the back 4, along with Curtis Nelson and Perry NG. The team in full. Dylan Phillips in goal. We do think it is a back four. Whether Ollie Denham or Perry Ng plays at left back, we shall see, and I will bring that up with Ash shortly. But if we go with Denham at left back, Nelson and Ng in the middle, and Cody Drama at right back, a midfield diamond perhaps, or even a Wales box with 2 holding players and 2 number 10. If we go with the diamond, Wintle holding, and Ryan Wintle is captain tonight. Will Vokes perhaps playing from the left, Ruben Colwell from the right, and Tommy Doyle as the number 10 behind Jordan Hugill and Max Watters. On the bench for Cardiff tonight, it's Lutheran, McGuinness, Flint, Semenyo. If you've been watching the under-23 games, you'll know that he's another promising player, an excellent right wing back. Eli King making a welcome return to the bench. James Collins, who's been an excellent club man all year, he's on the bench this evening, and Mark Harris also. Very quickly, running you through the Middlesbrough team, they will line up in Chris Wilder's preferred 3-5-2 formation. It's Luke Daniels in goal, a back three of Paddy McNair and Anthony Dirkstiel flanking Sol Bamba. Mark Bowler will be the left wing back, and then you have Marcus Tavernier, Johnny Howson, Riley McCree and Isaiah Jones running from left to right. And up top, one change from the weekend. It sees the return of Folarin Balogun to partner Duncan Watmore to lead the line for Middlesbrough this evening. Cardiff then playing for the medium to long term. Middlesbrough playing for right now. It's all set up for an intriguing encounter. Steve Morrison previewed it with the press earlier this week, and we're going to hear a few words now from the Cardiff City manager.
We're not going to worry about them. We're just going to worry about ourselves. It's a game. It's a game on TV. It's a great game you want to play in. No different to the game on Saturday, which was a great game to play in. And as I said, we was very close on Saturday. We would go up there and give a really good account of ourselves. I've said everything we're doing is building towards the summer and next year. And ultimately, one thing you want to do as a football player is you want to win games. And it annoys you a bit when people question that you're not trying to win games, because you never step out on a football pitch and don't try and win a game of football. You don't do that. So I'll try and pick the best team that I can for the game with the players we've got available, and hopefully we give a good account of ourselves and put a performance in. Look, they've been doing all right. They said they did all right at the weekend. They just didn't take their chances. They're right in the mix. Obviously, this is their game in hand, which would then even up the games. Yeah, they're a good team. It's no different to the game on Saturday. It's they're competing at that end of the table for a reason. They had a good loan window, bringing some excellent players in, some top end players from Brighton and Arsenal, especially. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It's is what it is, but hopefully this time next year we're up that end of the table competing. It's two clubs in slightly different positions at the minute. But yeah, no, it'll be a great test. We have to keep performing. Once we had a goal, and that was to get safe, and everyone was pulling in the same direction, whether they were going to be here or not. And then once we got safe, we was a bit freer to be able to try a few bits and play the likes of Ollie Denham and see how close he is to being part of the 4 or 5 centre halves that we have next year, for example. Try a couple of different formations. Obviously, the Reading game was a good one because we knew we could match up shapes and that. So yeah, it's let's say it's a strange time of year. For that, you get up and down performances. You look at Birmingham the other week, lose 6-1 to Blackburn, and then go and nearly win in the last minute against Millwall. So look, my mind's been made up for a while on where we're going, and I'm quite clear in where we want to go and how we want to get there. And the only thing that's holding all that up is time, because obviously I can't fast forward in time and can't get to that June the 1st when the window opens and people can start seeing the changes. So is the answer.
Steve Morrison there, still talking about the fact, of course, that while Cardiff have to give a good account of themselves right now, they are building for next season. But as we said earlier, footballers want to win games, and Cardiff City haven't won too many lately. The hearty 600 or so Cardiff City fans making the long midweek trip to the Riverside this evening certainly demand and expect a performance from their Cardiff City team, and no doubt Steve Morrison and his men will be trying to give that to them. One man who hasn't made the trip tonight because he's got a long overdue night off, he's travelled many a mile this season, is my colleague Ashley James. And as always, I'm hoping by the wonders of technology, there he is, looking resplendent as always. And Ash, I had the weekend off. I only saw the highlights of the Sheffield United game. You and I have chatted since. Your sort of summary to me, perhaps, a little bit like Luton, good, promising first half, maybe dropped off a little bit in the second half. Ash, bear with me, sir. We're having some issues at this end. Are you on mute? Are you doing the typical work meeting thing and I have to remind you that you're on mute? We can't hear you at the moment.
I might well have been, you know.
There we go. I thought I wasn't hearing your normal, wonderful tones. Start that again, sir. So the question being, and I'm sure you answered it perfectly, the Luton game, I thought Cardiff City were excellent for 45 minutes. They weren't bad for the whole 90, but certainly the second half dropped off a little. Having only seen the highlights of Saturday against Sheffield United, Steve Morrison was relatively pleased, particularly with the likes of Ollie Denham. But was it the same sort of pattern, a decent 45, and then the intensity dropped off?
Yeah, apologies for that. I was trying to save you the noise of my toddler while I was away from the camera previously. No, you're right. It was a particularly tough watch in the second half and a tough game to commentate on, and exacerbated by the fact that I thought the opening 45 minutes was a good Cardiff performance and a really good game of football. Quite frankly, it wasn't quite end to end, but there was a good pace about it, a good tempo, a good tenacity, and I think a good Sheffield United team who were hamstrung a little bit by their own problems. Put it that way, you know, they had key players missing in key areas, and I thought it made for a really exciting, interesting game of football. And the second half, Sheffield United completely took control of the game, and I thought Cardiff were sloppy, lacked an edge. You know, more than anything, we saw when Cody Drameh went off, we saw a Cardiff team look a little, as they did in the opening half of this season, just really lacking in pace in the wide areas. And as a result, no real thrust, no real get forward from the full-back positions. And it made Cardiff a lot more one-dimensional to try and play against.
That's something I want to pick up in a moment, Ash, about tonight's encounter. But just going back to Saturday, and particularly Ollie Denham, I saw him at Liverpool. I've seen him a lot in the under-23s. I've spoken to you about him. What I like about him, he's maybe not the most physical defender. He's maybe not even the quickest defender. But I think because of his football IQ, he tends to be in the right positions. And as a result, I don't see him go to ground that often. He's one of those cultured defenders. I've been thoroughly impressed with him. We don't want to big him up too soon, too much, too early. But you haven't seen him a few times now in the senior side. What are your impressions of him?
Yeah, he looks like a really well-rounded championship centre-half, as you said. I think I think people raise an eyebrow sometimes about modern centre-halves. They need to have a certain standout asset. But I think, to be honest, at the championship level, if you can bring a really well-rounded game to it, then you're going to have a career at this level. And he certainly looks like you can do that. You said he's got a good frame about him. I think a frame that can be built on as he becomes, a more mature professional. But he's got a decent rangy stride, which I think makes up for a lack of top-end pace. And the thing that really impresses me, he won't be bullied, And then with the ball, he just looks really comfortable in possession. You know, he looks like a modern, comfortable centre-half with the ball, both, you know, picking his moments to bring the ball out and step into midfield at times when he wants to. But in terms of just playing simply into midfield and bringing his fullbacks into play, he looks like he's got a really composed head on those shoulders.
He does indeed. I completely second that. You mentioned in your first answer about Cody Drameh going off at the weekend, a lack of width, a lack of pace in wide areas. We're debating about the shape tonight. We're pretty sure it's a back four. Perry NG would be the obvious choice to slide across to left back. Ollie Denham can play off his left foot, so possibly he plays at left back with NG staying as the centre half. A diamond or a box in midfield, certainly whatever the case, it looks quite narrow, Ash. So it's going to have to be a little intricate tonight, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a back four, doesn't it? I think you've actually got three options, because I think Cody Drameh could quite conceivably play on the left-hand side as well, as he has done, or as he did do at times for the Leeds under-23s team earlier on this season, or the Premier League 2 team for there. But I think it's probably Perry and G to play on the left-hand side and giving Ollie Denham and Curtis Nelson a game together as a pair of centre-halves. And that's because what you alluded to there, to be honest, John, I think it's going to be narrow in midfield. It could be a diamond with Wintle sat deep and Volks and Doyle either side, which allows Colway to play his natural position as a number 10. And that would work because you've got two hard-working strikers in Watters and Hugel either side, who will then go and press in the channels if need be and allow some space for Colwell to move it into. It could quite conceivably be not a flat four in midfield, but you could see Colwell playing on the left. You could see Doyle playing on the night. And we've seen Doyle and Drameh build up a bit of a relationship, haven't we, in their time at Cardiff? And you could see them playing that almost narrow four formation that Southampton have played at times over recent seasons. You've seen Stuart Armstrong, you've seen James Ward-Prowse at times play that narrow inside right role, and allowing Colwell to do the same on the left-hand side as well. So it's going to be really interesting. And, you know, as the conundrum was for Cardiff at the first half of this season, whichever shape we go with, it's going to be a case of trying to inject some width into the game somehow, either from the two strikers splitting and doing that, getting the fullbacks really high up the pitch, which will be more difficult with Perry playing one side, or trying to manufacture that a little bit with Doyle and Colwell.
One more question on Cardiff City, Ash, before turning our attention briefly to Middlesbrough. Cardiff City fans will think we are flogging a dead horse. At this stage of the season, 2 games left, we can't go up, we can't go down. You wonder how many interesting points we can find to talk about. The bench does interest me because there's a little bit of a mixture on it there tonight, perhaps through necessity, we don't know, or we do know with injuries and what have you. But at youth, in terms of Semenyo and King, 2 players again I've referenced from you to you from the under-23s, really like. Mark Harris, so much promise this season. Is he going to get that consistency at any stage to force Steve Morrison's hand and say, I'm your guy? And James Collins, who has been an unselfish player all season, he's been out of the squad for some time now, back on the bench tonight. I certainly get the impression he hasn't thrown his toys out of the pram at any stage.
No, I'll take them one at a time quite quickly then. I think we might have seen some greater experimentation, and we might see some greater experimentation in the 2 remaining games. But I think in terms of the sanctity of this division and the respect that Middlesbrough deserve in their chase for the playoffs, that's probably why you're not seeing greater experimentation this evening, which is probably why Jai and Eli are on the bench and not involved in the first team, in terms of the starting 11, at least. And I think James Collins, like Mark Harris, they can't be ruled out. And more so James Collins. Look, we know the situation with the number of players that are going to be out of contract in the summer. We don't have a huge squad going into June. So we simply can't rule out players because we assume that, you know, that they're going to be heading out to the club as well. If they're under contract, then they're surely going to be given an opportunity. You know, as you've said, he's a great professional, James Collins. He works incredibly hard. You know, he's had ups and downs in his career before, and he's come back stronger from them. You think, you know, released by Aston Villa as a youngster, worked his way back up through divisions. you know, he's had down seasons and up seasons as he worked his way back through as well. You think of his time at Shrewsbury, and he's playing for a manager as well who's had ups and downs in his career as a striker at this level. So I don't think you can simply rule him out at all.
No, well said on that point. Just finally, Ash. Well, not just finally, because I need to compliment you on that beautiful photo you've got over your right hand shoulder of the Captain Morgan's rum stand on the Bob Bank. So I think that deserves a mention, and very jealous of that. What of Middlesbrough? You know, Chris Wilder's gone in there and done a good job. He's playing the formation he likes. I'm not necessarily sure he's doing it with the players who would naturally fit into that. They're solid. They don't seem to have a great deal of goals in them. Is it too easy to say that good things, if they are going to happen for Middlesbrough tonight, probably Tavernier and Isaiah Jones?
Yeah, as with ever with Middlesbrough, they've got a massive squad, haven't they? And they're caught a little bit at the moment, recruitment-wise, between a previous manager and the current manager, I think, which has led to this bloated squad at the moment. Yeah, Tavernier has been superb. You know, I'm geeky enough that I've been putting together my championship teams of the season for this season, and you know, he was quite a way off, you know, first team level for that. But Tavernier was the only real Middlesbrough player that came into your thinking in that regard. Maybe Johnny Howson as well. But they're a team who've had injury problems as well this season, John. And, you know, even players, as you've mentioned, the likes of, it was Steve Morrison. I often get you two confused, who mentioned Aaron Connolly and Florent Balogun, you know, coming in January on loan. They haven't had consistent runs in the team. It's been a very, very stop-start season for Middlesbrough, and whenever they've threatened to go and put a run of results together, there's been a couple of injuries that have hampered them, and they've fallen off a bit. At the involved in the first team, which is really holding them back. And, you know, far from me to have to say it, his own manager has said it, the fact that he's picked up 15 yellow cards in a championship season is absolutely absurd. And as a result, he's missing 3 games through suspension at the key time of the season.
Being given the hurry up, because as always, you and I have over-talked, but a pleasure to have your company as always. And I look forward to seeing you in person for our last home game of the season at the weekend. Thanks, John. Enjoy the game. My thanks to Ash for joining us on his night off. As I say, we are running a little long, so we'll get straight on with it. We're going to hear from one of the players I mentioned earlier, Dylan Phillips. Then we're going to have our top fives, a few other pre-match bits, and then it's back for commentary. Audio in the UK with Mark Denham and Connor Pearce. And if you are in one of those dark markets I can never remember, you're stuck with me. But first up, here's Dylan Phillips.
So, Dylan, our last midweek match of the season, a long trip up to Middlesbrough. What can we expect from them still, obviously, with a lot to play for this season?
Obviously, they're still fighting to get in the playoffs. Yeah, they've got lots to play for, and I think so have we individually and collectively as a team. Obviously, after losing the last few games, we want to bounce back and try and get a positive result and keep improving on the way we're playing. And for people like myself, it's another good chance to sort of show the gaffer what I can do, and as a team, just keep trying to improve and building on, ready for next season, really.
As you say, yeah, still in that playoff hunt, Middlesbrough. It's going to be a really important game for them with a big crowd, we assume, up at the Riverside. We handled that situation really well on Saturday for most of the game at Sheffield United. So it's going to be a case of doing the same again, but hopefully going one better and getting a point or 3 this time round.
I think we handled the situation fine, really. We had a few chances, they had a few chances, and they took one of them and we didn't. That was literally the difference in the game. But yeah, no, it'll be another good experience playing there up against a big crowd and against a good side, obviously fighting for the playoffs. It's what you want to do. It's where we would like to be. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And obviously yourself, Dylan, back in the starting 11 for the last couple of games. How are you enjoying it, being back on the field for this last run of the season?
Yeah, really enjoying it. It's not a nice place to be when you're not playing, especially as a goalkeeper. Obviously, you don't really get 20 minutes here and there like a striker would who's out of favour or whatever. So yeah, obviously I was brought out the side on the Mick and never managed to get back in. Now outdone well whilst he was in the side, and now obviously I've been given an opportunity to play some games. So for me, it's frustrating that the season is ending, if I'm honest. 3 more games. I'd rather there be 33 more games. I just want to play as many games as I can and rack them up, really. So hopefully I can do that next season and really kick on and kickstart my Cardiff career, really.
3 or 4 games you have played so far, and in the 3 to come, I suppose it's most important to get that sharpness, getting used to being back at match levels, because there's nothing quite like playing a game and being back in front of a crowd and with the defence in front of you, is there?
No, of course not. I mean, I think I sat out for 25 games, and to some people it might not seem like much because we play football every day, but you're definitely right. It sort of feels like the start of pre-season for me playing these first few games, but I feel like I'm getting back into my rhythm now. So, just painting pictures in my head and seeing different pictures on a match day is much different to training. But no, I'm enjoying it, and like I say, don't want it to end, but 3 more to put my stamp down on the team.
And in the last few weeks, we've seen a number of different kind of shapes and systems being used on the pitch. Does it affect your game too much from a goalkeeping point of view, or whether it's a 5 or a 4, is it still quite similar for you between the sticks?
It's quite similar. It's nice to play with similar personnel if I had a choice, but obviously the gaffer's rotating things because we've got quick games in quick succession, and he's obviously trying different formations out against different formations in the other team. So it is, like people have spoke about, it is a bit of a transitional phase, and we're trying new things. We're trying to be more possession based and play out from the back, which I quite enjoy doing, and I feel like I'm quite capable to do so. So no, it's been a good experience. I'm enjoying playing in all the different shapes. Obviously, like you said, doesn't really affect my position too much, but what's in front of me and different pictures from playing out from the back, etc. Yeah, but I'm happy with either or, really. Just be nice to get a positive result tomorrow.
And in the last couple of games, it's been Perry and Nelson who have played in the centre of defence for a few of them. What are they like to have in front of you, and do you enjoy playing with the 2 of them?
Yeah, really good. 2 very different footballers, but 2 very good footballers in their own way. Nelson is obviously a rock, do you know what I mean? Hard as nails, and wants to tackle and head everything. And obviously Perry's a little bit more composed and good on the ball. And yeah, it's a pleasure playing with both of them. Looking forward to, obviously, a pair of them will be in next season as well. So it's nice to build relationships.
And there's a number of young players in the squad, Dylan, including George and Rowan in the goalkeeping department, but also Ollie Denham, who stepped in the last few games. And how much do you kind of enjoy helping them, giving advice from your goalkeeping perspective to the lads in goalkeeping and in defence as well?
No, I think Ollie's been great when he played. I mean, he played that game at Anfield with us as well, and I thought he was brilliant there. For a young lad to come in and make sort of his 2 debuts, as you like, against Liverpool and Sheffield United is a great experience for him, one that he'll never forget. And hopefully he can kick on, and I'm sure he'll be well in and around our squad next season and looking to kick on as a first team player now, which is great for him.
Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV.
Holden, he'll shoot and he'll score! One in the area! And it's on, we did it!
A very good evening once again. Welcome to Matchday Live, courtesy of Cardiff City. The Bluebirds travel north to the Riverside to take on Middlesbrough. You're just seeing a graphic on your screen at the moment of the Middlesbrough side playing 3-5-2. Sol Bamba, of course, a member of that back 3 tonight, a beloved Cardiff City player. This is the Cardiff City lineup that will look to trouble him. A couple of changes from the weekend, with Colwell coming in alongside Will Vokes. A back 4, we think Perry NG at left back, although it could be Ollie Denham. And then we're deliberating perhaps a diamond in midfield with Wintle the sitter, perhaps a Wales under Chris Coleman style box in midfield with 2 number 10s that could be Doyle and Colwell. Whatever the case, the 11 in full: Dylan Phillips, Ollie Denham, Curtis Nelson, Perry NG, Cody Drama, Ryan Wintle, who wears the captain's armband tonight, Will Vokes, Ruben Colwill, Tommy Doyle, Hugel, Jordan Hugel and Max Waters complete the starting 11. John Donovan here with you this evening on Picture Commentary. I hope you are all having a good week, and hopefully the Bluebirds can just stem that losing run and bring you a little midweek joy. Tommy Doyle could be key to that, the man you see